Good morning, students. Welcome to Computer Organization class. This is Veena A. Patil from Department of CSE BLE CET Vijaypur. In the last video, we have seen instruction execution and straight line sequencing. We have just gone through branching. We saw during instruction execution there will be two phases like instruction fetch and instruction execution. And we also gone through branching. Then we studied about the condition codes, and we also saw how these condition codes are stored in status bits. And today we are going to learn about addressing modes. Now, generating addressing memory addresses is one of the important tasks. Now, when we have already gone through branching, now it comes into mind as how to specify the address of branch target, and can we give the memory operand address directly in a single add instruction in the loop, or can we use a register to hold the address of num1 then increment by 4 on each pass through the loop. These are some of the questions which will arise when we are dealing with the programs. Now let's see first of all what is addressing mode. The different ways in which the location of an operand is specified in an instruction are referred to as addressing modes. So in simple way, they are nothing but they are different ways in which the location of an operand is specified in an instruction, and it is referred to as addressing mode. So let's have a look on some of the addressing modes. See, I have listed here few. We have immediate, we have register addressing mode, we have absolute or direct, we have indirect addressing mode, we have indexed addressing mode, base index addressing mode, we have base with index and offset, relative, auto increment, auto decrement. Okay, and in front of those I have already given what will be the assembler syntax, and we will also learn how these addressing will function. Now we are using here a symbol hash. This hash symbol is used as a sign or a precedence for the values. Whenever I want to say in an instruction it is a constant value, I use hash. Now we can use either a variable or a constant for representing the memory location which holds the value. Now this value can be changed as needed. If the value keeps on changing as needed, then I call it as a variable. And if I want to say it is a constant value which will remain constant throughout the execution of the program, then I am going to represent it by a symbol hash in front of it. Okay, so now we will discuss one by one how each of them are going to work. Before that, let's see what do we mean by effective address. Now in the addressing mode that we are going to learn, the instruction does not give the operand or its address explicitly. It will not tell the address directly in the instruction. Instead, it provides information from which an effective address, which I call as EA, can be derived by the processor when the instruction is executing. So that we call it as effective address, because the data that we are going to store in the memory, it can be stored in different ways. I can store the data in simple table format, or I can store the data in a form of list, or it can be a file. Okay, so we can say programmers can use the data to represent, excuse me. So organizing the data in different ways, we call it as a data structure. That is, I can use the data in, I can use different ways to store the data in a program. These data structure may include, like I may use a list, linked list, arrays, queues, and so on, which you have already studied in C programming. Okay, and the effective address is then used to access the operand. So to access such information from the data structure, we are going to use the effective address. Now let's have a look on different addressing modes one by one. Instruction will usually contain the opcode and the mode of addressing. So let's have a look on immediate mode. Now in immediate mode, the operand is given explicitly in the instruction. So you can see here, we have an example, move #5, R1. That is, it is indicating that the value, constant value 5 has to be moved into register R1. So a constant value 5 is put into register R1 here. Similarly, if I am going to write the hash symbol in front of a variable like num1, so if I write move #num1, R2, here what will be copied? Here I am giving directly the value, so the value will be immediately copied into register R1. Whereas here I have given the name of a memory location, that is num1. So whenever we write hash symbol in front of a variable, it will copy the variable memory address into the register R2. Remember, it is not going to copy the content of the memory location num1 or the variable, but instead it is going to copy the address of the register into R2. Now in register mode, the operand is the constant of a processor register, and register name is specified in the instruction. Example here, move R1, R2. Here the content of R1 into register R2. Add R0, R1. One more example. Here it will add the content of register R0 to R1 and place the sum in register R1. Now coming to absolute, or what we call as direct mode. Here the operand is in memory location. The absolute address of this location is given in the instruction explicitly. So see the examples here. Here we have move num1, R1. Now the content of the location num1 is copied into the register R1. Similarly, we have here move R0, sum. So it will transfer the content of register R0 to memory location sum. Now if you compare the register mode and the absolute mode, you can see here in register mode both the operands are registered, whereas in absolute or direct mode one of the operand is the memory location. So that is the main difference while writing these two instructions. Okay. Now let's have a look on indirect addressing mode, indirection and pointers. Here in indirection mode, the effective address of the operand is the content of a register or memory location whose address appears in the instruction. The indirection is denoted by parenthesis. This is a sign to denote that it is a indirect around the register or memory location. Now in indirect we have two ways, either indirection through a general purpose register or it can be through a memory location. So let's have a look of the first example, that is indirect addressing through a general purpose register. As you can see here, the register R1, which is shown in parenthesis, it holds the address of the variable B that holds the operand. You can see here, R1 holds the address of variable B and this B holds the operand. So when I write add into parenthesis R1 comma R0, the register or memory location that contains the address of operand is fetched and is added to the content of R0. So here the register that is containing the address of the operand where the address of the variable where the operand is stored is called as a pointer. So here R1 becomes a pointer which is pointing to B. Okay, so indirectly I am telling that the operand has to be added to R0. The operand that is contained in location B has to be added to R0. Same way we will see here indirect addressing through a memory addressing. Instead of a register, I have used here a memory variable. So this indicates the memory variable A holds the address of the variable B. B in turn holds the operand. So whenever I write add A in parenthesis comma R0, it is going to add the content or the operand that is stored in B with R0 and it will store the sum in R0. Okay, let's see one example so that we will understand it much better. So the same addition of n number program we will take and we will see how different addressing modes can be used here. Now initially, as we all know that if I'm going to use looping, I need to know the count, how many times the count has to be repeated. So here we are taking n as the count, that is we have n numbers to add. And if I write the instruction move hash num1 comma R2, it means R2 is containing the address of first number. To understand it, let me draw it and show you. So we have a memory like this, wherein consecutive numbers are stored, like we have num1, num2, num3, so on. Consecutive numbers are there. So there are n numbers. So up to num n, and somewhere here we have some also. Right. And now what I have done? There is one more number called n. N contains the count as how many numbers are there, and this value n I am going to store it in R1. So R1 is containing the count n, and the second line is move hash num1 comma R2, which means I am assigning R2 as a pointer to num1. Why I am saying it as a pointer? Because whenever I write it in this fashion, hash num1 comma R2, R2 will contain the address of num1. We have discussed it in addressing modes. So R2 will now act as a pointer, that is it contains the address of num1. That's why I call R2 as a pointer. Okay. Now we have R0 here, R0, I am just going to clear it. I am making R0 equal to 0, so that whatever I am going to add to its contents, it will be saved in R0. Now, since I am using a loop, so I am using the label loop. Now I am saying add R2, comma R0. See, you can see here R2 I have written in parenthesis. So what does it mean? It means that R2 is a pointer. So wherever R2 is pointing, that variable's content, that has to be added to R0. So I show here R0 is equal to content of num1 should be added with content of R0. Right. Now R0 will contain the content of num plus the content of R0. Now after performing addition, I have to move this pointer to point to the next location, that is it has to point to num2. So to point to num2, I need to increment R2 by 4. So I have written add immediate value, that is constant value, 4 to R2. So now R2 is going to point to the next number. Okay, since I have already added the number once, I need to decrement the count by 1. So I did R1 is equal to R1 minus 1. When I write decrement R1, it automatically performs R1 is equal to R1 minus 1. After that, we are checking branch greater than 0. This branch greater than 0 means check if the value of previous instruction, that is the value of R1, if this R1 is greater than 0 or not. If yes, then go to the label called loop. Now in loop, what is there? In loop, I am saying again add the content of, or add the content of the next number wherever R2 is pointing. That memory address content has to be added to R0. Now R2 is pointing to now num2, so the content of num2 will be added to R0. Then I need to increment R2 to point to the next location. So I add again 4 to R2, so it will point to the next location, that is num3. And since we have performed this operation once more, we need to decrement the count. So the count will be decremented by 1, and this goes on as long as the value of R1 is greater than 0. Once it becomes 0, it will not go to the label loop, it will come to the next instruction. In the next instruction, I have written it as move the content of R0 to a memory location called sum. So sum will be equal to sum of all the numbers which will be stored in this location. Right. Now, if you want to understand it much better, we will see one more. See this example with. Okay. Now let's assume that this is our memory location and the numbers stored here are 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. 5 numbers are stored. Okay, and let this be the name of the memory location. Let N1 be the name of the memory location. That is the first location. And now what will be the count here? The count here is, it is nothing but the numbers. How many numbers I want to add. Now here the count is 5. So initially I have initialized 5 to R1. So R1 is containing 5. Then I said assign the value or the address of num1, memory location called num1, to R2. So the address of num1 will be assigned to R2. So R2 will be containing the memory address. Now here, what is the memory address we have assumed? We have assumed the memory address to be 10,000 H, hexadecimal, right? So now R2 will be containing the value 10,000. Now I need R0 to store the sum, so I am clearing it to 0. Then I say add R2 into parenthesis comma R0. What does it mean? Add the content of the memory address pointed by R2 to R0. So the content of memory address means content of the memory 10,000, which is 10, to be added to R0. That's why you can see here R0 is equal to 10 plus this equation is nothing but R0 equal to content of num1 plus content of R0, right? So now R0 will become 10. Now I want to add the next number. So if I want to get the next number, R2 should point to the next memory location. So the next memory location is after one word. So this address will be 10,004H, right? So when I perform add hash 4 comma R2, R2 will now point to the next memory location. So the next element will be fetched, that is 20 will be fetched when I am going to perform addition. Right now it is going to point to the memory location where 20 is stored. Now since I have added one number, we have to decrement R1. So R1 will become R1 minus 1, which is nothing but it is 4. Now check whether R1 is greater than 0. So we say branch greater than 0. If R1 is greater than 0, then what it has to do? It has to go to the beginning of the loop. Else it has to come out of the loop. Since R1 is 4, so it will go to the beginning of the label called loop. It will start executing the instructions once again. Now again I have said add R2 comma R0. Now what will be the content now? R2 will contain 20 because we had already shown here it is going to contain 10, 20, 30. So the next value that is pointed by R2 is 20. So 20 will be added to previous content of R0, which is 10. Now the answer becomes 30. Then R2 is supposed to point to the next number, that is 30. So I increment R2 by 4. So R2 will point to the next number. Now since we have added one more number, we need to decrement the count by 1. So initially R1 was already 4. Now 4 minus 1, it will become 3. Is 3 greater than 0? Is 3 greater than 0? Yes. Then go to the label called loop and repeat it. Now see the next time. The next time R2 was pointing to 30. This was 10, this was 20, 30. Then we have 40, 50. So R2 was pointing here So it will add the content of the memory location pointed by R2 to R0. So now R0 becomes 30 plus previous value was 10 plus 20, 30, 30 plus 30, 60. Now I have to increment R2 to point to the next number, that is 40. So when we add plus 4, we will point to the next address, which is going to contain 40. Now since we performed one more number addition, we have to decrement the count. So count we have decremented by 1. So R1 becomes 2 now. Is 2 greater than 0? Yes. If it is greater than 0, go back to the loop and begin it. Right? Now see, this time R2 was pointing to the memory location where 40 was stored. Now 40 will be added to 60. Again the same set of operations happen. Now increment R2 by 4. Now R2 will point to the next location, that is 50. After 40, 50 will come. And again we are going to decrement R1. So it will check the condition, is R1 greater than 0. Since R1 is still 1, it is greater than 0. So it will go back to the loop. Again it will repeat. And now it is pointing to the memory location where 50 is stored. Now 50 will be added to R0. Now again I decrement R1. Now what will be the value of R1? R1 now becomes 0. 1 minus 1, it becomes 0. Is 0 greater than 0? No. Then it is greater than or equal to 0. Sorry, it is greater than 0. It will say no. So it will come out of the loop. And once it comes out of the loop, it will see the next instruction. What is the next instruction? It is move R0, sum. So the sum, which is 150, it will be stored in the memory location called sum. I hope you have understood. So in the next class or the next video, we will learn about indexing and arrays. Till then, please read the textbooks, and if you have any doubts, please get it cleared before we go to next topic. So take care. Goodbye.